Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? There was a report over the weekend that the New Orleans Saints could very well be prepared to cut ties with Tyrann Mathieu. That is obviously going to elicit a very strong reaction from this fan base for some very strong reasons. Tony Pauline was the one who had the report. And when you're talking about Tyrann, let's just start with the emotional tie that the fan base has with Tyrann. We all know his story. He's from New Orleans. He was a no-star recruit until he was a four-star recruit. And then he became a Heisman finalist, took the college football world by storm as the Honey Badger. A year later, he's off the team. He's arrested. His football career hanging in the balance, gets himself right, drafted, and we know what's happened. He's changed his life. He has a family. He's done outreach programs for kids to avoid the pitfalls, the path he was going down, and he's managed a career now as he'll be 33 in May that is marvelous in the literal sense of the word. Like, we marvel at what he's done considering the depths at which he fell when he was arrested and kicked off the LSU team to where he is now, and he's changed his life. It's incredible. And we would all love to see Tyrann finish his career in New Orleans. As a matter of fact, last March, a year ago, when he signed an extension with New Orleans, that was the question. Like, does this allow you to finish your career and retire as a New Orleans Saint?
Yeah, I hope so, but I'd probably say, more than that, right? I got another chance to help these guys win. I probably say the last couple of years has, kind of been, underwhelming, to say the least, right? So to have another opportunity to suit back up with these guys, help this whole city win, that means a lot to me. So I'm excited about that opportunity.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. They were not very good this year, and they don't really appear close to winning. Maybe he could be part of getting them back on a winning path. But during the Super Bowl week, Tyrann said that he hoped to play maybe a couple of more seasons. We'll see if he gets there. We'll see if it happens in New Orleans. So there's the emotional part of this, where everyone who loves that team and loves the city and loves the state wants to see Tyrann Mathieu retire as a Saint because he's representing the city, and it's awesome. You remove the emotion and you just strip it down to football player production and contract, and we have a very different conversation. Pro Football Focus ranked, coming into the 2024 season, the top safeties in the NFL, and they had Tyrann Mathieu ranked the 10th best safety in the NFL coming into this year. If you just look at Pro Football Focus, the grades after this season, Tyrann Mathieu graded 105th out of 170 strong safeties in the NFL. Now, his snap count was 19th, and his 3 interceptions was 12th. But if you're just looking at the overall grade of strong safeties, he graded out 105th out of 170. I say it all the time with Pro Football Focus. It is a metric. It is not the metric. It's not the only thing to consider. It's just something to consider. But you can also look at the objective data. 3 years in New Orleans. In year one, Tyrann Mathieu had 91 tackles. That was in 2022. In 2023, he went down to 75. This year, he went down to 62. And he hasn't missed a game, by the way. He's played in 17 games each of the 3 years in New Orleans. Has not missed a game. So he's been durable. He's been available. 91, 75, 62 on the tackles. Solo tackles, 64, 50, 47. You've seen a declining production each of his years in New Orleans. He hasn't really been a guy that's rushed the passer tremendously, but he had a sack his first year and no sacks the last 2 years. TFLs. He went from 3 to none to 1 this year. So you are seeing a guy that will turn 33 in May that undeniably, both in the objective and subjective metrics, has seen his productivity decline his years in New Orleans. There's a financial component of this conversation as well. Tyrann Mathieu, as we mentioned, did sign a contract extension a year ago. And so when you look at Tyrann's contract, he is on the books this year. His cap hit is his cap hit this year is $11.3 million. $11.317 million. If they were to cut Tyrann Mathieu, his dead cap number would be $13.8 million. So you're looking at a situation where after the extension last year and they had avoidable years to the end like they always do to sort of kick the can down the road, so to speak. But his cap hit this year is 11.3. The dead number is 13.8, meaning if Tyrann Mathieu's on your team, it costs you 11.3. If you cut him, it costs you $13.8 million. Now, they could do the whole post-June 1 designation, but that doesn't, again, it wouldn't even matter because it's going to cost you more for him not to be on your team than to be on your team. So, there's not really a financial benefit to cutting him or releasing him. It would specifically be, do you think that this player isn't good enough to help you anymore? And that's a roster spot that could be better utilized with a younger, less expensive player. And you would eat the cap hit. When you look at the roster, the only safeties you got right now are Tyrann, Ugo Amadi, Jordan Howden, JT Gray. Now, you signed Will Harris last year in free agency to a one-year deal. He played a lot for you, but he's an unrestricted free agent. So Will Harris could go play for somebody else this year, could sign somewhere. You could re-sign him, he'd go somewhere else. The point is, you don't have a ready-made, plug-and-play, ready-to-go option at safety. But maybe that's the position you target in free agency, or maybe that's what they're thinking in the draft. I don't know. But it's a credible source reporting that Tyrann very likely is, or not, I shouldn't say very likely. That the Saints are considering releasing Tyrann Mathieu. But the only reason it makes sense is they just see a declining player that isn't worth the roster spot anymore. And if that's where they are, that's a tough pill to swallow. But the end comes for everybody. Tyrann isn't on the back nine of his career. Like, he's pulling up to the clubhouse. And it's been amazing. And we're all gonna stand and applaud when he's done what he's been able to do and what he'll do in the next phase of his life. But the end for Tyrann is near. If it's this year, if it's next year, whenever it may be, however much longer he wants to play, I don't know. But if they cut him, it's not a financial thing. If they cut him, it is specifically the Saints organization looking at the player and saying, you can no longer help us win. That spot has to go to somebody younger. And if that happens, it'll suck and it'll be a really tough pill to swallow. But it might be where the Saints are. We'll get that decision sooner than later. My personal opinion on the matter is Tyrann's still a starting caliber player in the NFL. And if it's going to cost you more to cut it than to have him on the roster, I want that veteran and that locker room guy on my team, especially with a new head coach, trying to establish order. Give me good locker room guys. And Tyrann is undeniably that. So even just for that, I think it's worth having him around for another season. And then you assess after the 2025 season. But I don't get to make that decision. Who knows what the Saints are actually doing. One will watch as the league year set in here in a couple weeks. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.